Listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. If you were more likable, would it help you at work, in relationships, and generally in life? There is no doubt that charisma and likability makes life easier. Stay tuned and learn how to develop yours. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to make an energy approach, we show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, Jason, I've never heard about developing charisma. Is this about imitating or acting like someone who is more likable?
Well, if you Google it like I did,
Okay.
you get a lot of techniques, and they're basically acting techniques.
Oh.
You know, act this way or act this way, or do this or do that.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that acting is not sustainable. If
No.
you want to be more likable, it's hard to do that 24/7.
Right.
And there's always going to be leakage. Now,
well, wait a minute. In other words, you're saying if you want to be more likable and be authentically likable, it's hard to do that by doing all the other games that you would play.
Yes, but if I have to meet you for half hour, an hour, I can be likable for an hour.
Absolutely.
But after that, you
Right.
know, so all of you people that are dating out there, you know, an hour isn't enough to really get to know someone. And that's part of the problem is that, you know, people can act okay for a while, but then they can't sustain it.
Right.
And that's why when people who play a role like in a movie or whatever, they have all this charisma on screen, but then when they go home, it's not there, because it's an act. And sustainability, you know, frankly, likability with your spouse or your family is probably more important than out there in the world.
Correct.
You know, it's easy to get the toll taker who you wave to every day and say, hi, how are you doing?
Right.
You know, to like you.
Sure.
But it's harder to get your spouse or, you know, or your family to like you.
In other words, the UPS guy, we live in the middle of nowhere, and the UPS guy that comes around, I give him things like water and Gatorade, and he thinks I'm great, but if
he doesn't really know you,
he doesn't know me.
You know?
And you know, I realize I'm laughing about it, but I know what Jason's talking about. And you know, charisma is an energy. Like everything is an energy, and when you have negative energy standing in its way, then that charisma doesn't come out.
Exactly. You know, we Googled it, and do you have that list? Oh, we forgot about the list. Anyways,
Yeah.
We Googled it, and Inc. magazine had a whole list of traits for you to do to make yourself more likable. But it's it's first of all, if you had emotional intelligence, you would do most of these things anyways. Like don't look at your phone when you're talking to someone. Oh my gosh, you know,
exactly.
You know,
exactly. Or pick out a subject that everybody can talk about. You know, or you know,
conversation starters.
Yes, conversation starters. Things like that.
You know, if you try that on a date, for example, that might work for the first half hour, but it's hard to sustain that.
Exactly.
And even
Exactly.
if you can sustain it,
Hmm.
when there's a conflict in your relationship, the fact that you were starting conversations.
Notice he's looking at me
No,
when he's saying this, but go ahead.
starting conversations isn't going to help you be more likable. So
Correct.
here's what we're trying to say in
Okay.
this whole show. Okay,
Okay.
charisma and likability is an energy.
Yes.
It's not something that you can act or develop
Or
or
sustain.
sustain. And it's about taking the rough edges energetically, the
Hmm.
rough edges off the negative energy that's attached to you that shouldn't be there.
Right.
And when you're acting from your soul without the negative energy, everybody has a certain level of charisma and likability.
It's true. It's true. And the important part that I want everyone to hear in all of this is that, first off, the rough edges and the negative energies that are attached to you, we have a story in just a minute. Um, it can actually be done by using the ecosystem approach. And a lot of people don't really get that part. But it's just something, the ecosystem approach is something that you can do for 5, 10, 15 minutes every day, or even less. And you can change your life with it, not just with charisma and likability, but with everything.
Negative energy that interferes with a person's likability
Right.
comes from coping mechanisms that are created in childhood from a dysfunctional
Oh,
situation.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And sometimes those take a while to round off the rough edges, because for the most part those coping mechanisms, they're compulsive. You
Well,
don't
and
think about them. You
you
don't
just
just
do them to make yourself safe and be okay in the
half the
situation.
time you don't even know you're doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Patricia.
By the way, I'm a perfect
Yeah,
example of it.
I'm going to give an example.
It's I don't like this one, but it's a good one.
She was treated, like a maid growing up. She had all the skills and abilities. And she had a this
Mentally disabled sister.
mentally disabled sister,
Yes.
and she had to take care of her.
A lot.
Yes, you were the go-to for that.
I was.
And um, in your I remember when I first met you, I was listening to a conversation. I was in the room, but I wasn't part of the
Right. We worked in the
conversation.
same department, everyone.
And she was talking about how she got this guy who was sitting there was on BART, which
That's
is
that's the
a subway system that we have in the
in
Bay
yes,
Area.
in the Bay Area.
She got him to stand up and let this pregnant woman sit down, and which was a nice gesture. But the way she was telling the story it was dripping with righteousness and self-importance and
Yes.
and a little bit of anger. It's like, yeah, I told
Well,
him,
and I did.
and I wasn't directly in the group, but I overheard this, but I didn't find it very attractive, and
It
frankly,
wasn't.
it felt a little bitter to me. But then, when I approached her about clearing her for the first time, I was doing an experiment. That's when I just got started using the ecosystem approach, and I said, okay, I'd like to experiment this with you, and because her anger in the department was causing problems.
And by the way, I had no idea, everyone, that I was my anger was bleeding all over the
And it
department.
was your anger that was your coping mechanism that
It
you learned from
was.
childhood.
Yes.
So I cleared her, and even the first time I cleared her, I saw a difference.
Yes. Yes.
And that was these were these negative emotions that were coming out in this very unattractive way.
Right.
And the clearing was what helped. Now,
Oh,
it's not something we didn't ask her to act differently,
no.
or none of these stupid things like conversation starters or
Right, exactly. But the point that he's trying to make is, when the very first time he had ever used the ecosystem approach on me, and by the way, we didn't exactly call it that then. We then started experimenting with this. It was one of the most incredible things, because I literally, physically felt lighter. Lighter. I mean, as if I'm going to say this energetic burden had been lifted off of my shoulders. And by the way, I had no idea how big or grandiose that this energy that I'd been carrying around was.
We're going to talk some more
We
about
are.
this
We are.
story in the show, and I think
We are.
it's really important that if you start now, you can start affecting your energy.
Right.
This likability and charisma is really important for job interviews, first dates, presentations.
Yeah.
It really will help you in your life, and it isn't a quick fix. It's not something you just do like that.
Right.
But the truth is that it makes a huge difference over time.
Exactly. So understand what we're saying to you is, if you want to change your life, if there's things about your life you don't like, start using the ecosystem approach today. And no matter what subject we're clearing, when you do clearing, it can help all the aspects of your life. And it's remarkable. I admit I am one of the biggest, I'm a great story about a success story about the ecosystem
All the people
approach.
that we've been working with for a long time,
They really are.
It's
amazing.
It's an amazing success story.
It is. Okay, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
You can't act or fake charisma or likability because it's not sustainable.
Right.
Your personal charisma comes from the refinement of energy from your authentic self. And most people who struggle with likability have negative energy attached to them that can be cleared and comes from some sort of coping mechanism.
Right.
And the ecosystem approach teaches you how to clear your authentic energy so it is refined and more likable.
Nice. In the next segment, we're going to share some examples and of what happens when you have negative energy attached to you and how it affects all areas of your life. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to share some examples of what happens when you have negative energy attached to you and how it affects all areas of your life. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay. When you talk about negative energy attached to you that makes people dislike you, it is so different than the way most people think of likability. Either you don't have it or I don't understand.
Most, a lot of people who are likable have a quality in a certain area of their life. It's
Correct.
not usually the whole area. It's usually in a certain area of their life.
Right.
And they, it's a form of a talent.
Okay.
And they're likable. They're natural salespeople. They're agreeable.
Sure.
People. They're born leaders. That sort of thing.
Sure.
But those traits are usually a form of compulsive. In other words, they didn't learn it. They are, and sometimes they can even, some of these traits, whether it's charisma, can come from a negative energy, like, for example, needing attention.
Oh, yeah.
The person that wants to be the center of attention in the room might do really well on a TV show.
Correct.
For 30 minutes. Right. But then maybe really hard to live with for the rest of the time,
Yes.
And so that need for attention, to be the center of attention, can be compulsive and negative energy.
Right.
And even those people who look good on screen, it's hard for me to describe it in words, but we call it refining. It's softening the edges of that need for attention.
Right.
Can make them even more attractive, more charismatic.
Yes.
On TV or in the movies, whatever it is, as well as the other areas of their life. But most people think, Jason, give me a break. I'm just a dud. We've had a lot of people come to us, who don't think they're likable,
right,
and don't believe, and they have good reasons to think that. They may have been rejected. They may have been by members of the opposite sex, by their family,
Well,
by
and
their friends.
exactly, and some people are naturally shy. It's just part of who they are. But when you start clearing the negative
And that can be
energies,
negative energy too.
and I was going
That
to
can be
say,
unworthiness, fear,
yes, yes,
anxiety,
yes,
all those
yes,
things.
that programming that happens, like you were talking about in the last segment, that comes from childhood.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you understand that there's no such thing as I'm just a dud or that's just me, that's not really true.
Right.
And what we see, and this is where we have an advantage, if you can see a person, see a person's essence,
Okay.
which most of us don't look at. I mean, we don't have the ability to look at it. We don't look
Right.
at it. We don't go there. And it's usually covered up with negative energy.
Right.
It's sort of like bugs on a windshield. So your windshield's has all these bugs on it, and you start wiping it off,
and it gets
clear.
all, yes,
It gets yucky, and then it's clear, and then you can see through it. Think, oh my gosh, it's so much different.
And my perspective on looking through the windshield is different.
Yes.
That's the reality of it.
A better metaphor might be, and this is a very male metaphor, but if your car paint is all chalky and faded and
right.
it doesn't look very good,
right.
but then you take a special compound and refine it,
right.
shine it up,
yes,
it looks really good.
Actually, that's a really good one. That's
because really we see people's essences that way. Now even your natural essence may not be life of the party.
Right.
Your natural essence may not be the person that says, hey, look at me. Mm-hmm. It may be the person that sits back. But even then, if you have that energy refined, it can attract people. It can attract positive attention in a way that is really, really special.
Well, and refined energy is in many ways very subtle, and yet it's such a high quality.
Yes.
Such a high quality.
It's actually very rare in today's world.
It really
because
is.
Most people aren't working with their energy. They're crafting their
programming that they've learned.
Or acting a role.
Same
playing
thing.
A role in, yes, exactly.
Exactly, yes.
So Ronald Reagan, he's a good example.
Okay.
He was known for making people feel like when Ronald Reagan would meet someone, people felt like they knew him all his life, all their life,
Yeah.
And there was something very comfortable about him. But this was part of his
persona. Is that the right word?
His compulsiveness. It was compulsive. And one of the things that if you keep reading about Ronald Reagan, is that his kids resented him.
Yeah.
Because he treated them like someone he just met. Mm-hmm. In the White House. Maybe it's some foreign leader. They connect, they get along, he has that charisma that he can maintain for an hour or two, and then, people like him.
Yes.
But if you're his family or his kids, right, you see him do that over and over and over again, and then he treats you the same way. Mm-hmm. It just it's like fingernails on a chalkboard. It just doesn't feel right, and right. They could see through it, and they could see that it wasn't really very it was a kind of a put on.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying it was an act. It was right. Just a compulsive way. He was an actor.
Exactly.
And he had a persona that he crafted over the years, and it was right. Pretty good.
Yes.
And it worked for politics. Mm-hmm. But that's what we're trying to talk about. Another example is me. I want to use me as example. I like to give the stories.
Excuse me. This is all about him.
Yeah. So now I was talking about her. Now I get to talk about me. Uh-huh. So she made me talk about me. Anyways, now when I was younger, I read a lot of sales books, and I was really attracted to sales and being able to use your personality to get people to do things, and for leadership and all those things. And most of those sales books were some form of positive mental attitude or positive thinking,
sure,
which doesn't really work. It's more of that creates an act, and you can only maintain that act for a certain period of time.
Right.
So, but I knew these techniques and all these things. And I remember when we met, mm-hmm. we were both working at it was an art college, mm-hmm. and I was in operations. And at the time, all of a sudden, everything that I did annoyed people.
Okay.
It was almost like I had put on a new suit of clothes that said "kick me," And I was clearing myself. I was clearing my own personal story. And a lot of that, my personal story has to do with shame and unworthiness, because I had a very critical father who was, if you're an Enneagram person, he was a 1, and he was very demanding, and nothing was ever good enough. So that shame was coming out.
Yes.
And at the time at the time this was happening, I had this eczema that was on my face, this redness that was all over my face, and it was very embarrassing. We were talking about earlier. She doesn't remember it. She barely.
I mean, I barely remember it because that isn't what I saw. But I did have the ability, even back then,
yeah,
to see that his truth of who he is.
Well, and I'm sure that's why we're together today, is because we saw through all that negative stuff,
right,
and got to the truth of it, and it's very, very satisfying individually,
yes,
but even with other people, if if they can hang in there that long. And most people, this negative energy, whether it's in a marriage, whether it's in a group, whether it's where you work, when you start to round off these rough edges, it starts to really change you. And it's not like overnight. It's not black and white. I think the best example is the one that you said.
Which one?
About when after we were clearing you for a while, and then you went to a family function.
Well, we're going to talk about that one in the next segment. Yes.
So here's the other thing. These negative behaviors can cause bad behaviors. These negative energies. Yes. Whether you're afraid.
No, they can't. They not only can, they do cause negative behaviors.
There's fears. There's feeling unworthy. There's anger, resentment.
Exactly.
All of these come from childhood and your emotional story.
Exactly.
So you have to understand your emotional story, right, and start to eliminate those. Here are some of the negative behaviors. We just started to write a list, and there's a lot of them. And so it might not be in there, but you've probably seen other people that have this, like the need to control, emotional neediness, entitlement, outbursts of anger, obsessive talking, the need to criticize and make things perfect, numbness to other people's feelings, needing to be the center of attention, compulsive niceness.
Now that's one that most people don't understand, but compulsive niceness can be very offensive.
And refusing, especially when you see it's phony.
Yes.
Refusing to engage, a whiny voice, obnoxious body language or voice inflection, Urkel, that's a good example. He used it in a positive way, but
of course he did.
But I guarantee you, if he took that voice at home with him, it wasn't going to help him much.
Exactly. And what we're saying, and the bottom line here is that when you start using the ecosystem approach, what happens is a lot of these behaviors just naturally start to disappear because you learn to like and love yourself. And it's really, awesome.
Because you're changing the energy.
Yes.
That's the big deal.
It's huge.
There's no way to really learn it cognitively.
Correct.
It has to be energetically.
Exactly. So Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
People who are known for likability and charisma are rarely likable in all areas of their life. Public figures can act or fake likability and charisma, but they can't sustain it in all areas of their life. And dislikable energies can only be suppressed for so long, and they always seem to creep out and create problems.
In the worst possible moment.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes.
And the ecosystem approach teaches you to refine and create energies that are likable in all areas of your life.
In the next segment, we're going to talk about the way you can refine your energy in all areas of your life so you can have authentic likability and charisma, starting with yourself. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the way you can refine your energy in all areas of your life so you can have an authentic likability and charisma. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, Jason, I know there are people out there who are thinking to themselves, no matter, you know, how much I refine my energy, it's not going to make me likable or have charisma. Well, I'm going to jump in and say, yeah, it will.
You know, the idea of charisma is very subjective.
Yes, I
And
understand
it
that.
doesn't mean that, as you refine your energy, that everybody's going to like you, you know.
First off, you probably don't want everyone to like you, but that's a whole nother thing.
And probably as you become more authentic, we're not saying that you have to be authentic in every situation.
Of course not.
There are places like at work that you don't, it's not safe to be authentic. I get it.
Good point.
We want to say that.
Yes.
And maybe you need to create an act or play a role at work. We understand that.
Yeah, truly.
But when you go home to the person you love, the person you want to be with, if you're acting or playing a role, it's not going to last for very long, and they're going to see through it right away.
Exactly.
I realize that the word charisma is subjective, and more subdued personalities think, well, I could never have charisma.
Yes.
But there's all sorts of types of charisma, and in different situations.
Yes.
And the more you can have your authentic energy that's likable and have charisma in all these different sectors of your life, with your spouse, with your family,
correct,
with your dog, with people in your neighborhood,
correct,
people where you live,
right,
people at work. There might be a group of people at work that you don't want to be liked by, but there's another part that you do.
Exactly.
It always helps you with your job,
right.
And being likable in general is really beneficial.
Exactly.
So here's the first step. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand how you feel to others in all situations. Now, that's a big
look.
Yeah,
we'll
that takes a while. That takes a while to get that.
It does.
Like she said, when we were working together that first time, she had no idea how much she had anger and how that was being expressed around her.
I'll be honest, I was really shocked when he said, what? I knew I was angry, in here about this, that, and the other, but did I know that it was leaking or bleeding all over the office? I did not.
And, for some people, they may not see it, but other people will. And even if they can't articulate it, a lot of times they can perceive it in some way, and they'll judge it in some way or another.
Exactly. And then it comes back and it bites you.
So then you have to see, once you can start feeling how other people receive you, that's first of all, that's huge.
Right.
It takes a long time.
Right.
It takes a lot of clearing to do that.
Well, and wait a minute, let's use the example of when Jason told me how I was, bleeding all over the office with anger. First off, I was humiliated, but the other thing is it made me stop and go, whoa, I need to take a look at myself to see how I am affecting everyone and how that effect is coming back at me. Well, that was a really big deal.
Your example here, I think, is a really good one because, when you went to the Easter party for
right. Okay. Yeah. Well, when I very first met Jason, I was working, we were working in San Francisco. And so I didn't get to see a lot of my family. And so the very first time I got to see anyone was, I think it was Easter. I hadn't seen anyone for about 5 months.
And you were doing a lot of clearing in the meantime.
Oh, I was doing a lot of clearing because I did not want to I didn't want my feelings to affect others. I knew there was something not right about it. And so I walked through the door, and there was probably 20, maybe even 30
There's always a lot of people
or more there. And there was a minimum of 5 different people that they are my family, said to me at one point of this afternoon or another, said, whatever you're doing, it's great, you look wonderful, you're so much easier to be around. What was the other one? You just look happy. And I mean, I was kind of shocked because I thought, well, what is it about me? And then I realized, because I had been doing the clearing, because I had been using the ecosystem approach, I was removing negative energies that I had been wearing since I was a child.
And when what they were saying to you in a backhanded way,
yeah,
was that before your behavior was kind of offensive.
Exactly. And nobody was looking forward to me being there. It was very, very interesting. And I have to say, um, certainly that's not the case now, because
it's completely different. I
see energies different now.
And so it understand that it takes a while to get to this point. The second thing to understand is your emotional story.
Yes.
Your emotional story
really
goes back
important
to everything. If you're trying to make yourself more likable or have more charisma, I guarantee you the negative energies that you have to refine or to make them more likable or attractive
or get rid of.
Yes, are the ones that come from your childhood and your what we call your emotional story, which is, it's not just I grew up here and I moved to here and then I went to this school and this school. That's not your emotional story. It's how you well, like for Patricia, it's roughly analogous to Cinderella, being in the back room doing all the work. For me, it was, trying to overcome the shame of a domineering, critical dad.
Yes.
That's my emotional story, and it refers to everything else. And so that's when you kind of get a handle on not only what you need to clear, and how you can refine that those energies so that you're more likable and have that charisma.
Exactly. And the other thing is that most people say, I don't want to talk about my story. I don't, that I've talked to. And the answer is that that's part of the programming that basically says you're not supposed to talk about your emotional story or when you were a childhood, because it doesn't matter. What matters is just you today. Well, the truth is you carry baggage, and that baggage is what's causing no charisma, no likability, or very little of it.
And that baggage is always either heightened, turned up, the volume is turned up, or you're numb to it completely, so you don't see it at all. And so that's where the clearing helps you. And and when you don't see it, that's an energy. When it's turned up, that's an energy.
Exactly.
So
and and by the way, I want to say, I realized that we have refined that a lot, but in the beginning, we didn't realize how much we were affected. I'm talking about Jason and myself, how we were affected by our emotional story of our childhood.
Exactly.
We didn't,
it's funny because when we moved out of the Bay Area, came here, we're just outside of a small town outside of Yosemite, and we see how people respond to us.
Yeah.
And it's so much different. I mean, we're I think we would say that we're popular in ways that we don't even understand.
No,
people like us or are drawn to us in ways that seem strange based on some of our past history and what we remember.
Exactly.
But that's because we've been refining this energy, and it makes a huge difference.
Exactly. So, Jason, should we do key points and then talk about how to clear?
Let's do that.
Okay, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
The first step is to know how you feel to others. Clear the blocks to your perception of how you feel to others. Uncover your own emotional story that has created those negative behaviors, so you can clear them. And for long-standing negative energy or bad behaviors, it takes a while to clear. So be persistent and be patient. Okay.
Yes.
The ecosystem approach teaches you to manage, refine, and uncover the authentic part of yourself for likability and charisma.
Yes. Yes. So, Jason, let's teach everyone who doesn't know, and for those of you who do know, follow along, because it's kind of a cool thing, if you ask me.
So. Absolutely. So, your posture is not important. You don't have to be in a reverent position. This isn't church. You're changing energies, and so when we sit, so you can sit, stand, lay down. You can be jogging. You can be driving. It doesn't matter what posture you have. But so when we say and to eliminate, in your mind's eye, in your imagination, just gather up those things and then throw them or blow them into the processor. Now, Olivia is going to put the processor up for you so you can see it.
And if you don't see it, if you're driving or you're just listening to this, use a garbage can.
Use a garbage can. But the processor is a real thing. It goes in the top, it gets processed, it comes
Yes.
out the front, and it's neutral.
It's neutral energy. And by the way, you're not only helping you, but you're also helping the entire environment.
Yes.
By using the processor. And it's amazing what this can do for you.
And if you use a trash can, we'll still process it, but we'll do it for you. And,
exactly.
And we'll empty it for you. So don't worry about that.
Yes, exactly. And then after that, what we're going to do is we're going to activate life force energy. Life force energy is the most powerful, positive energy that any of us has access to. And what we're going to do is we're going to call upon it, and we're going to have it come in through the top of our head, let it go all the way down our body to the tips of our toes. We're going to stop it at the tips of our toes. We're going to use that energy, that powerful energy. We're going to turn it around, and we're going to kick out any other negative energy that has been left behind or we missed or is still there, because we know that there's so much negative energy everywhere. And remember, by doing this, it helps you be the person you came here to be. That is really, really, really important. So with that said, stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to help you identify and begin to remove those negative energies that are unattractive and could push people away, and help you feel how others perceive your energy. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to help you identify and begin to remove those negative energies that are unattractive and can push people away, and help you feel so you can perceive how your energy affects others. So, Jason, with that said,
here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the barriers so I can see the effect of my behavior on others in all situations.
Take a breath.
Blow it into that processor or trash can or whatever it is.
Exactly. And to eliminate the false belief that I am inherently, I know I didn't say that right, unlikable, and it can't be changed, when the truth is it can. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the feelings of anger, hate, rage, and bitterness that I project on others that makes me unlikable.
Take a breath.
Project is an energy term where you take those negative energies and say, here, you take it.
Right. And you know, that's going to be really valuable. I happen to know what next week's show is about, and don't miss next week's show, everyone.
Yes.
Because it'll really help you understand this one even more. So, and to eliminate the feelings of fear and hurt and shame that creates energies that repel others and makes me unattractive. Take a breath and just throw that in that processor or garbage can.
And to eliminate the barrier so I can clear my feelings of being unlikable and unworthy.
Take a breath. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that my unlikability energies are in all areas of my life, not just one. And I have the right to change it. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the feelings of fear and terror of being embarrassed and rejected, which is those negative energies that I guarantee you has sharp edges in terms of likability. Take a breath.
Exactly. And to eliminate the hurt and depression and shame that I have that makes me unattractive. Take a breath. You know, I have to say this. One of the things that I've learned through the years is that the hurt energy from this, that, or the other is one of the things that will send me straight to anger. And it's my way of protecting that negative energy of hurt. And I know that might sound a little strange, but when I clear the hurt, then I can see so many other things and see how I am perceived by others a lot easier. So, with that said, everybody take a breath.
And to eliminate any anger I have about being discredited and pushed aside that makes me, that comes out in unattractive ways.
Yes, take a breath. Meaning my reaction to them or somebody else's reaction to them or both.
Both.
Okay.
When they come out, they're unattractive, and then people respond in bad ways.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yes, yes, yes. So, and to eliminate my feelings of resistance and bitterness and anger that shows in my behaviors, in my voice, and my body language. Nice and easy. Take a breath. You don't need that stuff hidden in your body to be unattractive. Throw it away. You don't need it. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the false belief that others can't perceive what I'm feeling inside. That's not really true. They perceive it at some level.
Yes, they do. Take a breath. And to eliminate any thinking that says, I can hide my true feelings. And I want you to know, if you're hiding your true feelings, that needs to be cleared. And if you think you're hiding your true feelings, that needs to be cleared too, because somehow, some way it does come out. Take a breath, everyone.
If you're negotiating peace in the Middle East, maybe you don't want to show your hand, or you're playing poker.
Well, yeah, that's a good reason to not show. Yes,
but that's what they call tells. That people, no matter how hard they try to not have a poker face,
right,
it comes out.
Yes.
So
in one way or another. Yeah. And go ahead, Jason.
And to eliminate any numbness or blocks to how others feel about my energies or negative behaviors.
Good one. Take a breath. And to eliminate the barriers to my clarity so I can feel and see how others perceive my energies, be them good or bad. When you can perceive those things, it makes your life so much better. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can feel, not understand, but feel how others perceive my negative behaviors.
Oh, that's a good one.
So you can feel them the way they're feeling them.
Right. And go, oh, that wasn't my intention, or maybe it was your intention, but at least you perceive that. Take a breath.
And one more, and to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that those negative feelings are always blocked. So it makes it hard for me to perceive how other people's or feel how other people's are feeling with my energy.
Right. Take a breath. Jason, should we activate some life force?
Let's do that.
I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force so I can use life force energy for charisma and likability for myself, starting right now today. Pull that in right through the top of your head and let it go all the way down your body to the tips of your toes. Turn it around. Get rid of any negative energies that are keeping you from that charisma and likability. Take a breath.
And to activate life force so I can trust that my cleared and refined essence is likable and has charisma.
True. Take a breath. Tips of your toes and blow out any negative energy left over. And activate life force so I can decide to uncover and restore my essence for likability and charisma. Take a nice breath, everyone. And one last one, Jason. And activate life force so I can be happy and healthy and have the clarity, awareness, and objectivity and creativity, but also the awareness to see how I am perceived by others in the world. And if I don't like it, that can be removed. It can be cleared starting right now. Take a breath in through the top of your head, all the way down, and blow it out. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
So we're posing the question, do you ever feel depleted? Now, when you work too hard, when you work long hours, when you don't get any sleep, when you work a long day and you come home and the kids, that can deplete you physically.
Yes.
But the pandemic showed us that a lot of us were depleted in other ways. And it
Exactly.
created depression, addiction, suicidal thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
overeating, as well as illness and disease.
Yes.
If your energy bank account is overdrawn,
Yes.
and it's not the physical energy.
That's a really good way to say it. Yes, it is.
It's not the physical energy that we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the subtle energy that we work with.
Exactly.
And most people don't even know this part of their life.
Right.
But it's a big deal.
Well, and there's one more. Are you ever around people and then the next thing you know, it's like you just, oh, I got it. I feel so tired. That's part of what we're talking about as well next week.
And we're going to talk about the exchange, the back and forth exchange of energy between people, and how you give it out and how you get it back, and how you don't get it back.
Exactly.
And it's going to be a fascinating show. This could change you. So
exactly. So join us next week for sure. So Jason, why is the ecosystem approach so important to me and everyone out there personally?
If you're listening right now and you say, yeah, I want some more charisma, I want to be more likable.
Yeah.
And here's how you do it. Listen to our show every week.
Yeah.
Do the clearings at the end with us. Mm-hmm. Go to our website. Go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org, and sign up for our free section. Mm-hmm. And with that, you'll get the clearings every week so that you can do them. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have told us that they put those clearings on their phone and they do them every single day. The more you do them, the more it's going to work. So if you want that charisma as soon as possible, the more you do, the more clearings you do, the better off it's going to be.
Exactly.
Then go and visit our Facebook page, theecosystemapproach.org. That's where we have Facebook Live, the videos of these shows.
Okay,
on there,
good.
If you prefer it on video or not.
Exactly.
And go there and like us while you're there, please. I appreciate that.
Right.
And if you want to send us an email, it's hello@theecosystemapproach.org.
I love that. And by the way, you can ask us questions and suggest topics for shows regarding that. So we will connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio. You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.